You know what really messes with your head? It's that feeling that you're the only one spiraling while she looks perfectly fine. You're there staring at your phone, heart pounding over a 3-word reply, and she's posting stories like nothing ever happened. You think, if I stop texting, she'll just forget I exist. If I go quiet, she'll move on faster. I'll be the only one who feels this. So you keep talking, you keep over-explaining, you keep trying to fix what she's not even trying to hold. And the whole time, you're convinced that your silence is weakness and her silence is power. But here's what almost nobody has ever explained to you properly. In a lot of situations, especially when she was used to you orbiting her, your silence isn't weakness at all. It's the first time her nervous system actually has to deal with the idea of losing you.
When you go truly quiet, not for one day to play games, not to make her chase, but because something deep inside you is done performing, that silence doesn't just sit there. It echoes, it crawls into all the spaces where your attention used to be. It pokes at her confidence, it messes with her certainty. It forces her to sit alone with the one thing she's been avoiding the whole time. What life actually feels like without you constantly reassuring her that she can never really lose you. Let's be honest for a second. Most men have lived their entire lives with one script. If you like her, show it. If you're scared, talk more.
If she pulls away, try harder. If she seems distant, prove yourself. So when someone finally tells you, pull back, go quiet, stop chasing, it feels like they're asking you to cut your own oxygen because you've tied your value to your effort. You think, if I don't remind her how much I care, she'll think I don't. You're not just afraid of losing her, you're afraid of being misunderstood as uncaring or cold. But the truth is, your endless effort doesn't make her feel safer. It makes her feel in control. There's a difference. When you're always there, texting first, apologizing first, folding first, her nervous system gets used to having you like a safety net. You might think you're showing commitment. And to be fair, your intentions are good. But what her body is actually learning day after day is this. No matter how little I give, he'll still be there. No matter how I act, he'll still explain. No matter how inconsistent I am, his love is guaranteed.
And the second something feels guaranteed, we stop respecting it. Not because we're evil, but because our brains work on survival, not romance. We value what we could lose. We relax around what we're sure we'll always have. So, what happens the day you finally go quiet? Not the I'll ignore her for 48 hours to make a point quiet. That's childish. I mean, the kind of quiet that comes after your last nerve snaps. The quiet that comes after you've rewritten the same "we need to talk" text 10 times and deleted it.
The quiet that arrives when your chest is tired, your eyes are tired, your soul is tired, and you realize talking hasn't changed anything. That version of quiet, the one that comes from burnout and clarity at the same time. At first, your silence feels like nothing to her. Honestly, it might feel like relief. She doesn't have to craft polite replies. She doesn't have to feel guilty for leaving you to read. She doesn't have to think about what to say when you ask, "Is everything okay between us?" The constant emotional presence she took for granted just disappears quietly, and for a little while, her life continues. She scrolls, she laughs, she goes out, she talks to other people. You watch this from a distance and tell yourself, "See, I never mattered. She doesn't care at all." That's where you get it wrong. Silence doesn't hit in the beginning. It hits in the spaces where you used to be. Think about how many little corners of her day you used to occupy. Those moments when she was bored and opened your chat. Those nights when she felt insecure and messaged you because she knew you'd respond. Those times she wanted attention and posted something knowing you'd react. You were like emotional background music. She didn't sit there praising it, but it was always playing. Your words, your validation, your eyes on her life. When you go quiet and stay quiet, that background music stops. At first, she might not even notice, but one day she reaches for that comfort out of habit. She posts something, she waits. She checks who viewed it. Your name isn't there. She types, "Hey," then thinks, "No, he'll reply too fast, I don't feel like talking right now," and erases it. A few days later, she opens your chat and realizes the last message is hers, or maybe yours, unanswered. The easy assumption she always had, that you were still orbiting, still available, still emotionally on call, suddenly feels shaky. That's when her mind starts moving. For many women, the first wave isn't sadness. It's confusing. He's quiet, weird. Did I do something? She might shrug it off at first. Tell herself you're just busy. Tell herself she's imagining it. But then it continues. A week goes by. 2. You still don't show up in her notifications. You're not popping up in her DMs. You're not reacting to her stories. That's when the confusion turns into little sparks of anxiety. Understand this. The same way your brain used to constantly scan for her responses, her brain was used to scanning for your energy, even if she would never admit that out loud. She knew she could draw from it. She knew it was there. And now, there's a gap. The mind hates gaps. It fills them with stories. At first, those stories blame you. He's acting weird. He's being childish. He's probably trying to make me jealous. She'll feed herself these lines because they protect her pride. But her nervous system, the deep animal part of her, is picking up a different signal. This resource might actually be gone. That realization, that's what drives her crazy. Not crazy as in unstable, crazy as in restless, curious, uneasy, off balance. She might think about you when she didn't before. She might hear a song that reminds her of you, and instead of feeling powerful, feel something closer to regret. She might bring your name up casually around friends. Have you seen his page? He's been quiet. She'll act like she doesn't care, but she's talking about you. You're back in the room in a way that's completely different from before. Before, you were always right there, hands outstretched, easy to hold, easier to drop. Now, you're a question mark. The mind doesn't like question marks. This is where you usually ruin it.
Because when that first tiny breadcrumb appears, her liking an old photo, replying to a story, sending a random, "Hey, you've been quiet" message, you explode with all the built-up emotions you've been holding. You pour it out. You're so relieved she noticed, you unconsciously show her that even though you were quiet, you weren't gone. You were waiting. And in that one moment, you reset the pattern. Her nervous system relaxes. Her mind stops spinning. Ah, okay, I didn't lose him. I just had to tug the string. Game over. You go back into her guaranteed category. That's the difference between silence as a tactic and silence as a transformation.
One is an act. The other is a shift in who you are. When you go quiet as an act, your whole body is still chasing. You're still checking her profile 10 times a day. You're still staring at your phone, hoping she reaches out. Your mood still swings based on whether she watched your story. You're not really gone. You're just hiding, hoping she'll come find you. And if she does, all that bottled up longing floods out. She instantly knows, okay, he's still where I left him. Nothing actually changed. But when you go quiet as a result of growth, something is different. You may still feel the urge to reach out. That's normal. You may still miss her like crazy sometimes. But your actions start lining up with a new belief. I can care and still not chase. I can love and still respect myself. I can feel the pull and still not move. You're not sitting by the phone anymore. You're directing your energy back into your own life. Work, health, friendships, purpose, peace.
From her side, she can feel this difference. Even through a screen, women are very sensitive to energy. She knows what a man who is secretly waiting feels like. She also knows what a man who has actually let go feels like. When she reaches out and you reply calmly, briefly, without leaning forward, without emotionally bleeding through the screen, it destabilizes her old story about you. In her old story, you were the guy she could call at 1 a.m., and you pick up on the first ring.
You were the guy who never stayed mad, who always broke first, who always wanted her more. In her old story, you weren't a man she could lose. You were a safety net. When you answer her messages now with respect but not hunger, when you don't instantly jump at every little crumb of attention, her mind starts running a different script. Did he stop caring? Is there someone else? Did he finally see my games? Was I wrong about him? That "was I wrong about him" is huge. Women pride themselves on reading people. When she thinks she's got you figured out, he'll never leave. He'll always be there. She relaxes into power. When you break that prediction, her ego takes a hit. Her feelings might too. She might start remembering all the times you were there when no one else was. She might think about how easy she dismissed you that day you needed her, and she was too busy. She might remember that moment she rolled her eyes at your vulnerability. Now, those memories come with a twist. He gave me more than I gave him, and I might have blown it. Will she admit that? Maybe not. Pride is loud. Realizations are quiet. Her pride might call you names. Her pride might say you're cold now, changed, acting brand new. She might accuse you of playing games when in truth, you're finally done playing your old role. She might send you messages just to test how deep your change really is. If you take the bait, she calms down. If you don't, her mind spins harder. Let's ground this in a realistic example so you can feel it. Imagine you spent months, maybe years, being her emotional pillow. Whenever she had drama with someone else, she ran to you. Whenever she felt lonely, you were there. She'd say things like, "You're such a good guy, I don't deserve you, any girl would be lucky to have you," but somehow, she was never that girl. She always had an excuse. "I'm not ready, I'm confused, I'm scared of relationships." And you believed her because you could feel the connection, so you stuck around. You thought, if I keep showing up, she'll eventually see I'm different. Meanwhile, she dated other people, texted other guys, flirted online. You saw it. Your stomach dropped each time. But you stayed because leaving felt worse than waiting. You told yourself she just needs time. What she actually needed, in her own mind, was never to feel the real risk of losing you. Then one day, something in you snapped. Maybe it was a moment where you needed her and she brushed you off. Maybe it was seeing her post someone else and realizing you were slowly breaking yourself into pieces for a person who only saw you as a cushion. Whatever it was, you didn't snap outwardly. There was no big blow-up, no dramatic speech. You just went quiet, not out of spite, out of self-preservation. You stopped checking her page every morning. You stopped replying instantly. You stopped initiating. You put that energy into a gym membership, or into your work, or into your faith, your hobbies, your sleep. You started re-entering your own life. She notices eventually. She messages, "You okay? You've been quiet." Old you would have taken that as an invitation to pour your heart out. New you simply says, "Yeah, I've just been busy. Hope you're good." No shade, no attitude, no 3-page essay, just the truth. And then you put the phone down and go back to whatever you were doing. That simple moment right there is often when her mind starts screaming. Because her nervous system felt it, you didn't jump. You didn't reattach. You didn't beg for clarification. You didn't take the opening to reapply for your old position in her life. Maybe she doubles down now. Start posting more. Starts flirting heavier. Starts trying to trigger you. Again, not always consciously. It's her ego fighting the realization that she no longer has the effect on you she used to.
When those attempts don't hit you the same way, she's forced to face the mirror. I may have actually lost this man. Now, here's where you might be expecting me to say, and then she comes running back, throws herself at you, confesses everything, and you live happily ever after. No. That's the fantasy people sell you to get views. Real life is messier and more nuanced. Sometimes she does come back with real humility. She might say, "I've been thinking. I don't like how I treated you. I took you for granted."
Can we talk? Sometimes she doesn't confess in words, but her actions change. She shows up more, listens more, initiates more, apologizes in how she treats you. Other times she comes back with the same old pattern, just wrapped in a new bow. A little affection, a little flirting, a little, "I miss us." And then as soon as you lean forward, she leans back again. Your job isn't to control which version appears. Your job is to become the man who responds from standards, not starvation. When her mind goes crazy because you're quiet and she reaches out, you need to ask yourself some hard questions before you let her back into your emotional front row. Did she just feel a moment of fear and then go right back to her old habits, or has something actually shifted? Is she suddenly interested because you're no longer obsessed with her, or because she actually sees your value now?
Does her effort continue when you stop giving her extra credit for showing basic interest, or does it fade as soon as she feels safe again? Most importantly, how do you feel when she shows up? Calm, grounded, or instantly thrown back into anxiety and overthinking? Your body will tell you the truth faster than her words will. Now let's talk about you for a moment, because all of this, her mind goes crazy stuff might sound interesting, but if you don't deal with what's happening inside your own mind, you'll just keep playing the same story with different faces.
When you go quiet, everything you were using her to avoid feeling shows up. The loneliness, the fear of abandonment, the belief that you're only valuable when you're useful, the craving to be chosen at any cost. That's why silence feels so brutal at first. It's not her you're up against, it's all your unresolved stuff. So the temptation is to break silence, not because you miss her in a healthy way, but because you want relief from yourself. This is where you either collapse or grow. Every time you feel that urge to reach out, to check in, to send a harmless "how have you been?" you have a choice. You can train your brain to think, when I feel anxiety, I fix it by chasing someone who already showed me they can live without me. Or you can train your brain to think, when I feel anxiety, I treat myself like I matter. That might mean calling a friend who actually cares about your day. It might mean going outside and letting your body move. It might mean cooking something decent for yourself instead of skipping meals because you're too busy refreshing your messages. It might mean journaling how you feel instead of dumping it into a text bubble that will leave you to read. Will that feel as instantly satisfying as seeing her typing bubbles appear? No, but longer term, it builds something no relationship can ever give you, a stable relationship with yourself. And here's the twist no one talks about. As you become that man, less reactive, more grounded, less desperate, more selective, your energy changes, and women in general respond to that. The same woman who shrugged at your long messages might suddenly lean forward when you speak slowly and from a place of choice instead of need. Other women might start noticing you more. Opportunities you were too mentally distracted to see before start appearing. Your life gets bigger than whatever one girl thinks of you. And ironically, that's the exact state that makes you most attractive anyway. Women are drawn to men who can be present with them without being consumed by them. Men who can feel deeply, but whose world doesn't collapse when a woman is distant. Men who can love, but won't tolerate being treated like a backup plan. When you go quiet from that place, her mind doesn't just go crazy, wondering where you went. It goes crazy, trying to figure out how she misjudged you so badly. So, does going quiet work? Wrong question. The real question is, do you want to keep living as the guy whose self-respect can be turned on and off by someone else's response rate? Or do you want to become the man whose silence is powerful because his life is full? If what you've heard so far feels uncomfortably accurate, if you can see yourself in every line of this, chasing when she pulls away, talking more when you should have gone quiet, mistaking effort for worth, then do something tiny but important for yourself. Subscribe to this channel, like this video so it reaches another guy who needs this truth, and share a bit of your story in the comments if you're ready. Not because I need engagement for the sake of it, because sometimes the first step in changing your pattern is admitting, yeah, this is me and I'm tired of it. You might be surprised how many "me too" replies you get. Let's bring it all home. When you go quiet, her mind may go crazy, but that's not where your power lies. Your power lies in finally seeing clearly who she is when she doesn't have unlimited access to your heart. Some women will show you that without your constant pursuit, they had nothing real to offer.
They'll vanish or lash out, or try to pull you into the old dynamic with just enough sweetness to keep you hooked. Others will show you that beneath their games and fear, there was genuine care. They'll step up, own their part, and try to rebuild with you in a healthier way. Either way, silence brings truth to the surface. And truth is what you need more than anything right now. Not more words, not more guessing, not more, maybe if I just... Truth. The truth of how she handles your absence.
The truth of how you handle your own emotions without using her as a bandage. The truth of whether this connection actually feeds you or just drains you while you call it love. In the end, going quiet is not about getting revenge. It's not about torturing her. It's not about turning her into the one who suffers more. It's about stepping out of the circus. It's about refusing to juggle and dance and perform for a woman who claps when she's bored and walks away when she's entertained. It's about sitting down, putting the clown suit away and saying, if you want me in your life, it won't be as a show, it'll be as a man. Her mind might go crazy when the show ends. She might miss the entertainment. She might miss the security. She might miss you, genuinely. Or she might just move on to another audience. That part isn't in your control. What is in your control is this. Who do you become in the quiet?
You can be the man who breaks, who runs back the moment she whistles, who uses silence as a temporary tantrum. Or you can be the man who rebuilds, who uses silence as a space to finally hear his own voice more clearly than hers. Who understands that the most important person who needs to go a little bit crazy when you go quiet is you, realizing you were always worth more than the version of yourself you played to keep her.
If this hit you in that private place you don't talk about, the place that's still replaying old conversations and wondering if you were ever enough, hear me clearly. You were. You are. Your problem was never that you loved too much. It's that you loved someone else so loudly you forgot to love yourself at the same volume. When you go quiet, let that be the sound of you turning that volume back up. If you want more of these kinds of breakdowns, calm, honest, no fluff relationship psychology, spoken in a language you can actually feel, make sure you subscribe before you click away, like this if it made you see things differently, and drop one line in the comments, I'm choosing my peace. Not for me, for you, as a promise to yourself, because the day your peace matters more than her reaction, that's the day your silence stops being empty and starts being powerful.
And from there on, every relationship you enter will feel different because you finally know that the loudest thing about you is not your chasing, it's your standards.